A chronicle of Nelson Mandela's life journey from his childhood in a rural village through to his inauguration as the first democratically elected president of South Africa. Born in the small village of Mvezo in 1918, Nelson Mandela entered a world of simplicity, yet one shaped by deep-rooted traditions and the heavy responsibility of leadership that ran in his family. His father, a local chief, ensured that young Mandela understood the value of courage, respect, and duty from an early age. Life in the rural village was not easy. Resources were scarce, and the hardships of daily living taught him lessons that no classroom ever could. Even as a child, he displayed a natural curiosity about the world around him, seeking stories of heroes, warriors, and leaders who stood for justice. These tales planted the seeds of a vision that would one day shape his destiny. From his earliest days in Mvezo to his later years in the nearby village of Qunu, Mandela's upbringing was steeped in both challenge and inspiration. Walking barefoot to school, through dusty paths, he absorbed lessons not only from his teachers, but from the very land he traversed, witnessing firsthand the stark inequalities imposed by colonial rule. Children in his village were taught to respect their elders, value community, and maintain a sense of honor. Yet Mandela quickly became aware that these lessons existed in a society where power was unevenly distributed, and opportunity was limited by the color of one's skin. He saw neighbors denied basic rights, families torn apart by laws that treated people unfairly, and communities living in the shadow of oppression. Even as a boy, his heart ached at these injustices, and a determination to see a fairer world began to grow within him. Education became his first true path to empowerment. He excelled in his studies, showing a particular aptitude for languages and leadership. Teachers recognized not only his intelligence but also his ability to inspire others. At school, he began to learn the importance of dialogue, reasoning, and negotiation skills that would later prove invaluable in his political life. Mandela's early education, combined with the moral and ethical lessons from his family, laid the foundation for a lifelong commitment to justice and equality. As Mandela moved into his teenage years, he encountered a wider world beyond the familiar landscapes of Mvezo and Qunu. The stories of oppression and resilience he had heard as a child became tangible realities. He understood that true leadership required more than courage and demanded knowledge, strategic thinking, and the patience to navigate complex social systems. These early experiences, though seemingly small and local, were the beginning of a journey that would lead him to challenge one of the most entrenched systems of oppression in modern history. In the quiet villages of his youth, amidst dusty roads and simple homes, the seeds of a global legend were quietly taking root, destined to grow into a story that would inspire the world for generations. Nelson Mandela's journey into adulthood coincided with a nation divided by deep injustice. South Africa was entrenched in apartheid, a system designed to separate people by the color of their skin and strip black citizens of basic rights, education, and opportunities. Mandela, now a young man, could no longer ignore the suffering around him. Each day brought new stories of families torn apart, communities constrained, and individuals denied the dignity they deserved. The injustice was stark, but Mandela's resolve was unwavering. He knew that change required action, courage, and above all, unity among those who sought equality. He joined the African National Congress, a political organization determined to fight oppression and champion the rights of all South Africans. Mandela's involvement was immediate and passionate. He organized peaceful protests, engaged in community discussions, and began to speak out against systemic discrimination. His voice, though young, carried conviction and inspired others to rise against injustice. Mandela understood that words alone were not enough. Strategy, education, and leadership were critical. He trained in the law, defended those wrongfully accused, and studied the mechanisms of power that perpetuated inequality. The streets of Johannesburg became both his classroom and his battlefield. Mandela witnessed the harsh realities of apartheid, police patrolling black neighborhoods, harsh laws restricting movement, and violent suppression of dissent. Despite the danger, he continued to rally communities, teach young activists, and spread the message that equality was not negotiable. Each encounter, each confrontation, strengthened his determination and honed his understanding of justice. He learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in spite of it. Mandela's activism was not without personal sacrifice. He faced constant surveillance, harassment, and threats to his safety. Friends and fellow leaders were imprisoned, and violent clashes erupted on the streets. Yet he remained steadfast, believing that patient, persistent effort was the key to dismantling an unjust system. He embraced the idea that leadership required moral discipline as much as political skill, and he prepared himself for the challenges that lay ahead. Even amidst the turmoil, Mandela maintained a vision of a united South Africa. He frequently reminded those around him that true freedom would require dialogue, understanding, and a willingness to forgive. He spoke of reconciliation not as a theoretical concept, but as a practical necessity for rebuilding a nation torn apart by hatred and oppression. Mandela's belief in unity was tested repeatedly, yet he never wavered. He cultivated relationships, mentored young activists, and encouraged strategic thinking to ensure that the movement was guided by principles rather than anger. During this time, Mandela's reputation grew. He became a symbol of hope and resilience, representing the courage to challenge a system that sought to crush the human spirit. People looked to him not only for leadership but for inspiration, seeing in him a man who refused to accept the limitations imposed by society. His words, speeches, and actions laid the groundwork for a movement that would ultimately change the course of South African history. Mandela understood that the path to justice was long and fraught with difficulty. There were moments of doubt, moments of fear, but he remained committed to the cause. He famously remarked, "I have walked that long road to freedom. I have tried not to falter. I have made missteps, but I have always returned to the path of justice." This mindset, cultivated through years of observation, learning, and struggle, would carry him forward into the defining chapter of his life. 27 years of imprisonment that would test not only his body but his very spirit. Through these early years of activism, Mandela learned invaluable lessons about courage, strategy, and the human spirit. The streets, the courtrooms, and the secret meetings were his training ground. Every challenge strengthened his resolve and clarified his vision, a South Africa free from oppression, united by equality and justice. Even as the forces of apartheid grew more oppressive, Mandela remained undeterred. His journey was just beginning, and the sacrifices he endured would soon define not only his life, but the destiny of an entire nation. Mandela and his fellow prisoners were forced to break stones under the scorching sun, their backs aching, their eyes stinging from the relentless glare. But the true challenge of Robben Island was not physical, it was psychological. Guards taunted, ridiculed, and isolated him, attempting to crush his will. Each insult, each act of cruelty was meant to convince him that resistance was futile. Yet, Mandela remained steadfast. He understood that while his body could be imprisoned, his mind and his ideals were beyond their reach. In the darkness of his cell, he cultivated a quiet, unshakable resolve. Freedom, he knew, was not merely the absence of chains. It was a state of mind, an inner strength that no wall could contain. Night became his sanctuary when the prison fell silent. Mandela would read by the dim light, absorbing lessons from history, philosophy, and literature. He wrote notes, formulated ideas, and shared knowledge with fellow inmates. In this harsh environment, he created a secret university, turning confinement into an opportunity for growth. Every book, every conversation, every lesson learned was a testament to the human capacity for resilience. Even surrounded by oppression, Mandela chose to rise above hatred, using his time to strengthen himself and prepare for the day he would walk free. Life on Robben Island was monotonous, yet unforgiving. The work in the quarry under the burning sun left permanent scars. But it also became a crucible in which his patience, discipline, and endurance were forged. Mandela learned to endure discomfort without resentment, to lead quietly, and to teach by example. His interactions with fellow prisoners were filled with mentorship, discussion, and the exchange of ideas. Through these bonds, he cultivated a sense of solidarity, proving that even in isolation, community and leadership could flourish. Despite the harsh conditions, Mandela never allowed bitterness to take root. He understood that harboring anger would only perpetuate suffering. Instead, he focused on the greater mission, the freedom and dignity of his people. Every day in prison was a lesson in patience, courage, and moral fortitude. He practiced forgiveness in his heart, recognizing that the true measure of strength lay not in retaliation, but in the ability to maintain integrity under extreme pressure. Mandela's resilience did not go unnoticed. Fellow prisoners, inspired by his courage, followed his example, learning to endure, to hope, and to continue their intellectual and moral growth despite the oppressive circumstances. He became a beacon of quiet strength, demonstrating that leadership is defined not by command, but by the ability to uplift and guide others even in the darkest times. Over the 27 long years, Mandela transformed adversity into opportunity. He turned Robben Island, a place intended for despair, into a center of learning, reflection, and strategy. His mind remained free, unbroken, and increasingly powerful. By the time his release approached, Mandela had not only survived the attempt to crush him, but had emerged stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever to lead a nation toward reconciliation and justice. Even in confinement, Mandela's vision never wavered. He believed that a South Africa free from oppression was possible, that hatred could be overcome by forgiveness, and that true leadership required patience, wisdom, and moral courage. Robben Island was not the end of his story, it was the forging of a legend, a crucible that transformed a man into a symbol of hope, resilience, and the enduring power of the human spirit. After 27 years behind bars, Nelson Mandela finally walked out of Robben Island, stepping into sunlight that had felt like a distant dream for nearly 3 decades. The world watched as a man who had endured unimaginable hardship emerged not with anger, but with a heart full of forgiveness and a vision for a united nation. People expected vengeance, a demand for justice through retaliation, but Mandela had something far greater in mind. He understood that rebuilding a nation fractured by hatred and systemic oppression required reconciliation, empathy, and moral courage. His freedom was not only personal, it symbolized hope for millions who had suffered under apartheid. Mandela's release in 1990 marked the beginning of an extraordinary chapter in both his life and the history of South Africa. He became a beacon of peace, a living embodiment of the idea that justice must be tempered with mercy. He met with former adversaries, extended a hand of friendship, and encouraged dialogue to heal wounds that had festered for generations. His approach was revolutionary in its simplicity. He prioritized unity over division, compassion over resentment, and long-term reconciliation over short-term triumphs. As the first democratically elected president of South Africa in 1994, Mandela faced the monumental task of transforming a nation built on inequality and fear. He implemented policies to ensure fairness, fought corruption, and emphasized the importance of education as a tool to empower future generations. He never lost sight of the principles that had guided him through his youth and years of imprisonment: equality, patience, and moral integrity. Mandela's leadership style was a masterclass in humility. He listened, he learned, and he acted decisively, always keeping the well-being of the people at the forefront of his decisions. Mandela's legacy extended beyond policies and speeches. He inspired millions worldwide, showing that leadership is not measured by power or titles, but by the ability to transform hearts and minds. His commitment to forgiveness reshaped the way the world viewed justice. He proved that strength is not demonstrated by retaliation, but by self-control, empathy, and the courage to rise above anger. People saw in him a leader who could endure suffering without letting it corrupt his spirit, a man whose resilience became a blueprint for human dignity. Even in his presidency, Mandela continued to embody the lessons learned on Robben Island. He approached every challenge with patience, knowing that lasting change required time, strategy, and collective effort. He empowered communities, mentored young leaders, and championed the importance of education, dialogue, and collaboration. Mandela's life became a living testament to the idea that adversity can forge greatness, and that true freedom comes not only from escaping physical chains, but from cultivating inner strength and moral clarity. Mandela's story continues to inspire generations. From the dusty roads of his childhood villages to the halls of power in Pretoria, his journey demonstrates the power of resilience, patience, and unwavering dedication to justice. He showed that even the harshest circumstances can be transformed into opportunities for growth and leadership. Mandela's life is a reminder that courage, education, and empathy are the true engines of change, and that forgiveness is one of the most powerful tools in uniting divided communities. The journey of Nelson Mandela, from a small rural village to the presidency of South Africa, is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It is a story of courage in the face of oppression, patience in the midst of adversity, and forgiveness in the wake of suffering. His life serves as a guidepost for leaders, citizens, and dreamers alike, teaching that the most enduring power comes from self-control, empathy, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. Thank you for watching. If Mandela's journey inspired you, hit that subscribe button now. Join us on Smart Mini Moves for more stories of courage, resilience, and real power. Don't miss the next chapter of inspiration. Click subscribe and let's grow together.